South China Morning Post, 15th of March 2023, why is China the new belligerent if there is diplomacy in Beijing and a war agreement in San Diego? China, which aspires to control the world and is a new hegemonic power, provokes the world into war. The timing and meaning are both compelling. To cement Aukus, a military agreement between the three Anglo-American nations to deploy offensive capabilities throughout the Asia-Pacific, Washington hosted the leaders of Britain and Australia at the Point Loma Naval Base in San Diego after Beijing helped Iran and Saudi Arabia resume diplomatic relations. Australia has been responsible for funding the development of nuclear-powered submarines that the United States and Great Britain jointly constructed. One deal entails an Asian nation disguising its power projection for global dominance while it engages in conflict with the rest of the world. On the other hand, the Anglo-American West asserts its dominance as an area that fought long and hard to be freed from the yoke of foreign powers. Who exactly is in favor of peace, and who of war? China. The American overlord has unceremoniously reduced its two English-speaking allies to vassal states because it cannot stand a competitor anywhere in the world that might threaten its hegemony. For Australia to compete with its biggest trading partner, which has supported its economic boom for more than 2 decades, it must commit its defense posture to military nuclear technology at a tremendous cost to its society. For Britain, the disastrous invasion and occupation of Iraq that it carried out shoulder to shoulder with the US is happening again. But this time, the reluctant foe possesses weapons of mass devastation, specifically nuclear weapons. Isn't protection on the continent of Europe much more accessible? There is a raging conflict there. That Australia and Britain would describe their national security regarding Taiwan is utterly absurd. That makes it significantly more dangerous for their people rather than safer. If required, the UK might be able to use force to save Tibet or Xinjiang and declare its national security interests in the Solomon Islands and the entire South Pacific. Of course, that would be ridiculous. But when it's the other way around, everything is routine and inevitable. The two vassals only harm themselves in such blatant ways because Taiwan is a beachhead in China's economic and military encirclement of the US. China recently made a peace proposal for the Ukraine conflict, but Washington and NATO rejected it before the ink was even dry. This was financially significant for China's diplomatic breakthrough in the Middle East. To prevent the world from uniting against authoritarian regimes like China. However, the Aukus member states contend that China poses a greater threat to the world than Russia, supported by their purportedly impartial mass media. Following its annexation of Xinjiang and Tibet, China only wishes to invade Taiwan. Is it attempting to surround Australia with a ring of armed installations? You say, Taiwan. Is a result of the Chinese people's worst disaster from the 20th century, when the dreaded communists occupied mainland China. Great economic competition is unavoidable. The Chinese hegemon behaves in the manner in which it does because it can, not because it has to. Now, if only the rest of the world could oppose China,